All right. Hello, everyone. This is Andrea's Book Culture Talk. Chris and I are back again for another spectacular Andrea's Pop Culture Talk, episode 5, I will say this, with two movies we're discussing. Of course, the recent DCEU 13th film, The Flash, and of course, we recently saw today, Monday, The Blackening, directed by Tim Story, and horror comedy. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. Thank you for having me again tonight. I'm excited to discuss about the Flash tonight. I'm excited to discuss the Blackening, and but I have a lot to say about Barry Allen finally returning on screen and finally having his solo film, even though it took I think about 9 years to develop, and it definitely went through its trials of creativity, production issues, and different writers and directors. And to finally see this film come to fruition is it's definitely bittersweet, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh, now that the Snyderverse as we know it is over.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we both got to see it and we got to see the Blackening today.
Yes. Very true. I mean, well, we have still two DC movies. The last Snyderverse thing, really, the Aquaman movie. And the Blue Beetle one is very interesting because James Gunn confirmed that it's going to be the first DCU character. Excuse me. But we'll get into more of that. But yes, I agreed. And yes, I think I'm more excited to talk about the Blackening than the Flash. But anyway, oh my god, I'm just so excited to talk about the Rose Park gag. That was so funny. The Rose Parks.
Yeah, you were laughing your butt off throughout the entire film.
Yeah. Oh my god, that movie. Anyway, so as in order, we're gonna do first the Flash, and then second will be the Blackening because it'll be kind of quick. It was a great film, and we highly recommend seeing The Blackening. So go ahead, check the film, please.
Oh wait, Andre, you sure you don't want to talk about the Blackening first?
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right. We'll start the Blackening. The Blackening. So this is a horror comedy film, 2023. Of course, as mentioned earlier, this is directed by Tim Story, who did the first two Fantastic films with Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans. This was written by, just give me a minute, just getting the information say the Blackening. Give me a second. Yes. So, Chris, just give me your overall opinion on the film, The Blackening. I don't know if you were excited to see the film. Written by Terrence Oliver and Dewayne Perkins, who's also in the film. I'm trying to figure out who Perkins was in this film. The role was Dewayne. Okay. So, Dewayne. Oh my god.
Yeah, so the film, I did like the film, and I love the satire involved. Touching on, social issues and the kind of tropes and stereotypes that the Black community deals with.
Yeah.
Some of the jokes were kind of corny and that were a little cringy, but there were jokes that were definitely very funny, and some of the characters, they delivered perfect, nice little funny lines, at the right time.
Mhm.
So it was definitely an enjoyable film, and I honestly, it was more silly than scary.
Yeah, I agree. Very silly. It's like I like Wikipedia to say comedy horror film. I think that's a good way to say it. It's comedy first and horror second, which is fine. I think this was it's sort of like Scream actually. I think it's sort of like the classic whodunit mystery, but in a very social commentary. Like screen level, with the black
Yeah, I
characters we
mean,
follow.
yeah, I can see where you're going with that, but I would say it wasn't as. I would say Scream Six was definitely more intense. I would
Yes.
say the Blackening in terms of just like the suspense of the horror, they were a little more lighthearted with it.
Mhm.
And of course, it's not surprising that it touched um on racism. Obviously, there was a scene where you see where the character saw the Confederate flag, and then so clearly
Mhm.
the killers, they were clearly they were racist, which is why they were willing to do Clifton's bidding, even though obviously Clifton is a black guy, and that just
Yeah.
shows how deep racism is. That
Yeah.
you're willing to work with a black person who's paying you to kill other black people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. Yeah. So let's okay. So let me discuss the villain because it's very funny. Because okay, so I don't know how you call the villain, the host or the uh I guess the blackening creature, if you want to call it, was also created by Clifton, one of the I say outcast character in the group, right? And
Absolutely.
I leave it to you while I think when they got into the game room, I say that, oh, he's definitely the villain because it's just very funny that he not only has the Trump thing, but he knew how to use the gun, like he properly help who was the individual, not King,
Namdi.
Nami, Nami, yeah, like to face it forward, so it was kind of obvious it was him, but it was so funny with the reveal, and just his motivation was probably the best villain motivation reveal. Like I thought this was so much better than the Scream Killer's motivation, unfortunately. But yeah, what else you can say? So what do you thought?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. It's. I guess. I mean, I guess it's. I guess it's a trope in some horror movies where it turns out like the nerdy, dorky, shy person is like the killer or the mastermind behind the whole thing. And
hmm,
as I said earlier, you definitely understand his reasoning. Clearly, this man was you can clearly see that his isolation from the group, and you clearly he wasn't one of them, and you saw that in how they treated him throughout the film.
yeah,
They didn't even, a couple of times he had to say what his name was. They didn't even remember his name. He wanted to learn how to play the game with spades, and they weren't willing to teach him, and they were like, well, you got to watch then, so watch them, and they were
yeah,
willing to sacrifice him because he was deemed to be, for the sake of being deemed to be the blackest. So they mistreated this young man, and then it turns out, the reasoning behind, what he was doing was that at a college party he had trouble playing the game of spades, and the crew accosted him for it, and Antoinette Robertson's character was saying that like your black card's been revoked, and that's where he was getting at was then like who defines what blackness is.
yeah.
Because because like I have trouble playing spades, or I vote for Donald Trump, or that I don't do the things that maybe I don't do the things or that are associated with black people that makes me less black. And I think the film really touched on that, in that just because someone is a black person is like biracial or gay or you know Trump supporter or conservative or what, regardless of whatever their personality ideas are, it doesn't make them any more or less black than any other black person. So I'm
That's
glad
true.
the film really touched on that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like going through the arcs of kind of say with the main group, like the main three characters that are like having the major arcs, particularly with uh, Allison, no, Lisa and Dewayne, and the Lisa's boyfriend, well, former like slash getting back to boyfriend, Delmy, right? If I'm saying that right, the Delmy. Like those three are pretty much going into an arc of not only accepting their true identity as black people, but also accepting some of their faults as individuals that they made while they were like young people, and like and that they are very flawed, but like they do care for each other, like because like the whole Lisa and Dwayne back and forth is really intriguing. I really like their friendship in the film, and I thought where we like left them is really touching and really great. And I actually like the character of Damid. I mean, he's very like the great thing about this film. I really like was how well like orchestrated they did with the stereotypical roles of each of the characters in the black group, and it was so well done, and like it wasn't hokey. It was like very believable. Like King. He's a good example of that. Like he's a very like he's like a recover. Like former, I guess like uh, what do you call it? Like a drug person that's clean, and he's in a steady relationship. He's like a changed man, sort of like what the Nami is doing too. And it's kind of cool. That Lisa, Lisa is struggling to really express her emotions as a woman, as a black woman as well. And I sort of like how she's able to express that to, these group of people that she plus, since 10 years, right? And so I really like that we handle a lot of their stereotypical roles in a very meaningful way, which I did not expect. That's one of the reasons I sort of love the film. And that's why I love the villain motivation, because it just makes so much more sense. And the way they like give you hints of it was like I did not expect that Cliff, was going to be the main villain. I think they did a good job of making a red herring to it.
Right, exactly. But is that you notice earlier in the movie, he was insisting that they play the game in order to save Yvonne Orji's character, even
Yes.
though the crew didn't want to. I think that was definitely a hint that either he was the villain or the mastermind the whole thing, and it turns out he was the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that, and then also the space. If you think about the space, like the fact that like we got like I mentioned there in the beginning, and then it gets come back to the end, which was really hilarious, but like very poetic. So like that's pretty cool. I guess the other thing was the two helpers that help Cliff to like orchestrate this like gay hunt. Like the fact that their friend Morgan, Morgan and Sean were there. Morgan took moved the white family picture, to put the Franks group picture frame like in the bookshelf, and it's kind of like a hit and miss that you don't realize that the twins are going to be the main villains. So like this film really did a good job of setting up clues and breadcrumbs for like who's going to be the main killers and villains of the piece.
Yeah, and I like how although it definitely like touched on like racism, I feel
Mm,
like they didn't go too overboard with it because
yeah,
you still found a lot of humor within the movie, so it didn't really push and push the traumatic experiences that black people face in regards to racism. So I'm glad that they kept that at a low, because that's
yeah,
one of the big criticisms with with some films with an all black cast is that
Mm,
uh, they focus too much on like the traumatic experiences of black people instead of
mm,
having experiences where we have joy and where we can like laugh even with the uncomfortable experiences that we face. And I feel like
yeah,
this film did a great job with that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still. I think I can see where people come from. I mean, it sort of depends on the filmmaker. Like, I think Spike Lee, the filmmaker, like he has that like sort of that problem, like a little bit. Like, I feel like I don't know if you've seen Black Clansman, but like
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, like I saw that film, great film, but like you don't need the real like artifact footage of like the present day. I felt like the ending of like John Davis Washington's character and the love interest he has there that is from Spider-Man Homecoming. Um, uh, I felt like they should have ended there instead of just cutting into like the present day and then like give like the lecture of the rights and all that like still going on, which I get, like I know that, but like you don't need to put that in the film, after dealing with it, the whole film where it's powerful still, but and then there's other ones that like do actually very well with the commentary that like Jordan Peele like it's a good example of this. Like he knows how to like spread the commentary, but also make it accessible. That's why Get Out works. This is why Us works, and this is what like Nope works. And like you still can have fun. So I think this really leads to a very good like direction where Jordan Peele has done so successfully.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So you and the blackening does a good and the blackening does a good job with like keeping up with its satire and
yep,
at the expense of it all, there are times where they're having fun and having a good time with each other.
yes,
It's not like dark throughout the whole movie. Of course, it has its dark moments, but for the most part, it's funny for the most part.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Excuse me. Like I guess we can get into favorite jokes, like because I think one of the things um oh yeah, well well
Sorry, I clicked. I left the call by accident.
no worries. Anyway, we could continue. So let's get into like our favorite jokes. I guess that'll be a good way to get into the best part about this one. I think the friends like when the group have to answer the the question about all the black actors and guest starred on the Friends show, and that was where I think you started to like the film more, like just them like correcting what they answered, the fact that they shouldn't watch Friends. It's so funny, and and that's the first time where Morgan, the friend that's pretty much held captive and it's later killed by Clifton, gets attacked, and I think it gets her hair taken off, right? And during this portion, so I love that scene. I think that was where the film really gets into the like the humorness factor, like my way.
Yeah, my I would say my favorite part was that they were debating about like who's the blackest, and the characters were explaining all the qualities about themselves that made them like I guess black or any that made
Yeah,
them I guess like more associated with the behaviors that are associated with black people. I thought them going back and forth about that was funny, but I loved
yes,
how when Clifton, of course, when it wasn't revealed that he was behind the whole thing. I like when he said that, if you guys had any common sense, that you would know that this game wanted us to divide with
yeah,
each other, to turn on each other, and you just gave it what it wanted. So I'm glad he pointed that out.
yeah. I agree. Like he pretty much like gave a clue to the group that's what that's what he tended to do, and like that's really funny. Like just thinking back on the reveal, like Cliff just really hones in his motivation and why he's after this group because of what they did to him and like shot him as a black person. So I think that was a really great point scene that was funny, but now it's actually very like deep and actually gives contents of what Cliff say towards the end of the film, towards the four main in the basement, Uh, so I think that's that's like classic writing 101 of just paying. Like this movie does a good job of paying off their payoffs, and like just like Scream Six, they did a really good job of paying off the payoffs that they set up early in the film, which is great. Uh, so that's really good. Okay, so I guess we can kind of get into I guess the other joke. I mean, of course, when I mean, of course, this is the scene where like Cliff, mentions how he didn't see Friday, and then he mentions how he voted for Trump twice, and that scene still like gets it, still gets to me, after seeing that in the trailer. So, but anyway, so what else we can bring up? Oh, I guess let's it's really tough, right, to have favorite characters. Like, there's a lot of characters, and I actually really surprised that I actually like all the characters. There's no one character I dislike.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before,
Well, actually,
like
I didn't. I don't know the big girl. I didn't like her character that much.
who was that?
I forgot her name. She was the one that yeah, she was like the big girl, the big girl. I forgot. Hold on, I forgot her name, but
Yeah, is it?
she was like like she just had she was saying the N word a lot. She was saying the N word a lot. Not her. Everyone was saying it, but
Right.
I just didn't like that. You know, she had this like just obnoxious, loudmouth personality, and I just wish there was more layers to her character, and I
Yeah.
just felt like that contributed to the stereotype of black women that they all act like that. And they're not all like that. They
Right.
don't all like talk fat. They don't all like talk fast and are loud or
Hmm.
just cuss up a storm or act crazy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like they don't act that way.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. Least favorite is definitely Shanique. That's her name. That's the one you're talking about. Played by ex Maya. Um, she is a really interesting. Uh, like she worked in the Daily Show. She was in The Good Doctor, Swarm, and she was in the films of The Farewell, which I seen recently. That's a good movie. But yeah, so yeah, I kind of agreed. I think she was like the least favorite of mine. I think it's because she was just so like her jokes were kind of like the most obvious, where the others jokes were like very funny. Like it hit you in the right way. Like even like Dewayne, like his stereotypical was still funny. Like the gay archetype person, and like everything worked there. But like with Shanaik, I don't think hers were like it was like the obvious jokes, and like wasn't original. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Chris. I'm with you. She was like my least favorite. And I guess to transition to my favorite character, I guess I pick Allison. Um, I don't know. I having a toss up to Allison or King. I thought those two were my favorite of the movie. Just about them were so funny, especially because they get hit so many, like especially King. He gets hit like 2 or 3 times and with the arrow, and it's just I cannot believe he survived that. But it's so hilarious, and of course Allison is just great, just her and just her strictly, you how you say it, open minded and just like go get her, go get it kind of personality. It just really works. I don't know. Those two characters are my favorite. I don't know what's your two other favorite characters. favorite character. Um,
I mean, I liked pretty much most of the characters.
yeah.
Except the woman I was talking about. What's her name again?
Shane. Shane Ake. That's her name. Shane Ake.
Shanique. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, why that? Like, not all black women have like names like that. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Like at least that name. His name makes more sense. Like it's from an actual African kind of name, right? And like I don't know, like it's just weird with her. But yeah, I mean, at least like she's not an annoying character. Like she's not like the worst character. I just don't think she was like like the most memorable. Like I don't know. So it's just weird. Um, but what else? I do like that. The how you say the Officer White. I really dug the Officer White gag, the White Ranger, which is hilarious. I really appreciate that he was this movie. The Carl Batter or the Reach Batter, who voiced Batman in the Hall and Queen show. That is
Yeah,
uh,
Dietrich Bader.
Reach Batter. Thank you. Reach Batter is, of course, he voiced Batman in his solo Batman show, Batman Brave the Bold. Highly recommend that show. It's really great. I mean, awesome. It's one of the best shows. And first voice Batman again in the Batman Scooby Doo crossover, and of course in the Harley Quinn show that stars Kelly, voiced by Kelly Coco from Big Bang Theory. He was great. I thought his humor was hilarious, and I think he was kind of consistent. So,
Yeah, that
okay,
was funny. The way that scene where he was trying to call for backup, he was like Officer White. Just the way he said white.
wait,
That was funny.
yeah, and then the part when they drop their weapons, and so that they can, like just convince him that they didn't do anything illegal, and then they got back to their weapons after he told them to go to his car or like follow him. That killed me. Oh my god.
Yeah, that definitely. Especially as you said, when they picked up their weapons just to follow, because like clearly they were still suspicious of him, and like that was funny.
Yeah. Oh my god. But after unfortunately Mr. Officer White gets killed, by the killer, and I this killed me. I think this is where I fell in love with this movie, and it's definitely my second favorite of 2023. I will say that out loud. I think it's one of the best in 2023. It beats John Wick Chapter 4 for me. Um, when Dewayne tells Lisa and Damien to leave, it's like save yourself. And they of course they leave, right? Because it's like save yourself. But oh my god, the comeback of no, I didn't meant that killed me. That was one of the best. Oh my god, like replies from that scene. Oh my god, that killed me. Oh my god, and then him just spooky them in the vent. Oh my god, I don't know, that was funny. Oh my god, great scenes, great scene. Um, but yeah, so but yeah, I guess there's is there any funny moments you want to bring up? Because I wrote that as well. The save myself thing. It's hilarious.
Right, it was a funny moment when another one was saying, "Oh, it's like I'm so glad we have a white savior." I was like,
Yes.
"Oh, that was funny." Like I laughed my butt off when I heard that.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was so funny. Yeah, the white savior thing. But yeah, that was funny, and I guess what was the other one that was? I'm trying to think. What was the other one that was funny? Well, uh, well, actually, let's talk about the opening because it was funny. I I cannot believe Margaret. The character is played by Yana Arch, the the actress from Insecure. Like I'm surprised she was not in the
Oh,
movie. Like
Yvonne Orji.
now, yeah, thank you. Can you say that again, please? Uh,
Yvonne Orji.
Navi, Navi, Navi OG, from Insecure, was sort of like the the the, the opening kill girl, basically. So for the film, sort of like what happened to Samara Weaving, Drew Barrymore, J.D. Pinkett Smith, which they brought up Scream 2.
Well, technically, it was Jay Farrow's character that was the opening kill, and then
Then, yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Oh, you're good, you're good. Yeah, I just love that they called that out. That was funny. Yeah, so like I was very shocked that she wasn't enough the movie, but I thought the little she was in, she was great. I actually really liked her. So, but yeah. Um, okay, what else we have to rate up? Is there any to bring up? Um,
the scene where Clifton and the woman went to the store and that
oh
watching over them, it was pretty obvious. It was pretty obvious is that okay, he's going to be in the film later on, and it turns out he was one of the killers. So like that was such an obvious clue.
yeah, well, obviously cool, like obviously clue, but also unexpected. Like we didn't expect a twin, to be in the film. So, like, because the picture frame was like so quick. If you didn't catch the white family picture that Morgan like moved for the party, like there was another hint that there was going to be twins in the film. So yeah, I agree. The the gas station, with the one-eyed redneck, what's kind of obvious. It could be later in the film, but I wasn't expecting, like twins, rednecks, you know. But it was funny, when we got introduced with Cliff and Shanique. Like I did enjoy the Android iPhone gag, argument. That was funny, and I like that we continued that when he arrived to the party because that was really funny that he's using Android. And I'm sorry, but the Android is better than the iPhone. That's just my opinion, you know.
Absolutely, Android reigns supreme.
So yes. Okay. So I mean, one thing I guess to wrap the Blackening, because I like that there was none of our favorite characters die. I mean, you could maybe kill Technique maybe, but I'm kind of happy we didn't kill all of them really. So I'm happy that they survived because I really love these characters. And I thought that they were very smart and they actually did smart things in the horror film than most characters in horror films, Um, but yeah, but I guess you know to get into I guess you have any nitpicks or negatives about the film because I know we're bringing up like some jokes didn't land. Well, which jokes that didn't land? Um,
Was like some of the jokes I didn't land is because like I just didn't get them. And one joke I have to admit, made me kind of cringe was when Grace, the woman from Empire, her character was like
Alice.
and when like her dad gets angry, he's like, "Uh oh,
Yeah.
he might kill somebody." I mean, kill somebody. I was like, I mean, yeah, but that joke just didn't really land for me, and of course, that your black card has been revoked. So it's like, okay, yeah, that's just so dumb. Like there's no membership there's no membership to the color of your skin. It's just the color of your skin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know. But hey, they really went metaphor to those, commentaries in a very comedic way. So, I don't blame them trying, but yeah. So I guess my negative is the ending with the host thing. That was weird. Like,
Yes, the ending was so dumb. I mean, the host. I remember you looked it up. What that the host thing was, I guess, symbolizing. It's a callback to history, but just the way things ended was just like they're
yeah,
like, oh, so what now? And then screen goes to black, and then after that, they call the firemen. They get sprayed by a hose. It's like that's how you end. That's how you end it. This is
yeah,
so ridiculous.
yeah, ridiculous and just like weird. If you don't know what they were trying to do in that context, like I mean, like at least with like when Jordan Peele used like real events that happened, like like in No, Gertie the ape was like a based on a real thing that happened that like someone took care of ape and then but of course went berserk and unfortunately how do you say mutilate one of the I think assistants and it's sort of similar to how the Gordy ape attacked the studio and mutilate mutilate the one of the co-stars and we saw the the co-star again towards the film whereas at the Jupiter's show for the aliens that he was like showing off for a couple months. I thought that Jordan Peele knows how to sort of integrate that, like real life events that are like historic, but he does in a very clever and like subtle way. Here it was so weird and like I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or very serious. I mean I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that the ending should have had like more meaning and more dialogue to it, and I wish they would have like had dialogue where they reflected on their friendship and you know the social commentary and satire that was said in the movie. That would have made for a much better ending.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So, but besides that, I still enjoyed the film. I think The Blackening is probably one of the big surprises of this year. I really enjoy it. I think it's one of the best horror comedies I've seen. Not the top best, but I think I mentioned before I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really solid film to watch in the theaters, and it's one of the best popcorn films to watch. So, yeah. Um, anything else to say about the Blackening? I think it'd be probably a good time to do the Flash.
Yeah, me too.